And now
Do
JVS
it.
is on it.
Do it.
All right, so it should be JVS YouTube, should be Facebook, Twitch, X, Instagram, and TikTok.
And MySpace.
Yeah, so we're gonna let some people trickle in and give everybody some time. Everybody here, we're gonna be talking about Star Wars: The Acolyte. There's a reason and a rationale behind this, but we want to let some people kind of come in, and we're gonna have our live stream. I haven't done a live stream honestly on YouTube in a very long time, so this is actually a first. I have a full plate and a full panel here. I can't wait to talk about this. It seems at times more so wanted to get you guys' perspective on how you guys think about it. There may be more people that's going to trickle in. I'm going to share the link out so people know. There you go. There we go. And you guys, all right, so it's a good amount of people in here already. So everybody, not sure where you're watching from, if it's on TikTok, if it's on Instagram, if it's on X, if it's on Facebook or YouTube. Please, if you can, just go to the comments below, go to the chat, and send us a quick message that you're here, that you can actually see this and you can hear us pretty well, because we're about to go into full Q&A mode. We're going to go and have like in-depth discussions about everybody's perspective on Star Wars: The Acolyte. And what we'll do, we'll kind of keep ourselves out of it. We want to just have a good form of conversation about it. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my panelists here. First on deck, the man with the plan, Ronin Unchained. What's up, brother?
Oh, just another day, another shift. And then just, it's what a wonderful world we live in. I'm
Hey, you good?
It seems like there's some emotions there. Oh,
I
hey,
got
first comment up here. What's up, King? You King? It's
what's
been
up,
forever
man?
today. What's good, man? Hey, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. So I got some movies here, so I'm maybe giving away some digital codes for random movies. So
Ooh.
everybody, if you can participate in the comment section, so I know who you are. So again, everybody that's popping in now, make sure you go to the chat and go to the comment section and just keep us lifted on what you are thinking about Star Wars. All right. So next on deck, I got my dude, Bizzy Brown. What's up, man?
Yo, what's good, everyone? I'm excited to talk about this. Actually, I'm not. I'm not excited to talk about this. It's gonna be a mess. But yeah,
What a wonderful
what a
day!
wonderful day for sure, for sure.
And yeah, so I am here and ready to not defend, but just have open discussion. The point of this is really for us just to kind of narrow down people's perspective on this show. And then also kind of like the positives and negatives about the background of it. I mean, so I guess one of the things, Busy and Ronan, can we just kind of go, and if anybody for some reason hasn't seen Acolyte yet, can you guys give a brief synopsis on the time frame this takes place and then kind of what it's about?
So this takes place 100 years before, what, Phantom Menace? Or
Yes.
yeah, and I'll let you do this run. You're more elegant than I am.
So there's a mystery afoot 100 years before the events of Episode One, where a some murder is being occurred, and it involves Jedi's, and someone is accurately pinpointing four Jedi's to go hunt down, and there's a who done it, if you will, element to it, and you see how the past of one of these Jedi's in Master Soul, Lee Jong Jae's character, is being pulled in with the character of Amanda Stellenberg, Osha, and well, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. Um, her long lost sister, and we see how that stuff is trickling down. How there's more than just an old family affair. There's something. There's a bigger hand at play. There's a long game, if you will. And up to this point, we know that okay, they got separated. They were trying to go in different paths, and somehow their family and the Jedi got in a bad mix, and we clearly know something fishy went down, but we don't know all the details yet. And up to this point, we're like, all right, what happened, and what's gonna come about the aftermath of the results?
Thank you, sir. Bizzy, have anything to add to it as far as
Nah,
placement or
man,
books or
my
anything?
boy knows what he's talking about. I just I don't know if we even know where it's set because I don't even know. They know when it's set. So
No, I think that is the reason why I asked you specifically because I'm not trying to set you up. I don't have a stake in the game because personally for me, I've only seen the Star Wars movies and I've seen some of the cartoons. I've not seen Clone Wars. I've not read any of the books. I haven't seen Rebels. And outside of the stuff that's been on Disney Plus, I don't have a good amount of understanding knowledge, anything that predates Phantom Menace. I have played like Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. I play some other games here or there, but there are just some things that I personally don't know. So coming into the show for me, I really had nothing to stand on. Like it was kind of like this show that I was like, I don't know what this is gonna be. Because at this current point, I don't think there's any Skywalkers. I don't know if even the Jedi Order is firmly established in their normal traditions or if it's skewed or if it's different. I don't know if the Seth even exists. Those are questions that I had, but I just didn't know. And I love that about the show because I don't have any ground to step on. Now, I guess this is the first question because I think this is the biggest trigger for a lot of people. But I want you guys to engage us in the comment sections. Anybody say anything on your TikTok?
no.
Everybody's just listening in. There's 20 people in here, but everybody's quiet. One of the things I wanted to kind of bring up is that because this takes place before, are there themes and history that take place within this era or within this time frame that can be pulled from different source materials? Are there source material related things that this show is platforming off of? I'm asking you guys openly, and then anybody that's in the comment section, if you want to kind of expound on it, we'll put your comment up as well.
So, as someone who, like you, haven't dived deep into this era of Star Wars, I heard the announcement of the High Republic. I picked up the first comic book issue. I dug it, but I was like, you know what? I already have enough trouble following Filoni and Favreau and what they're doing and other franchises. I'm like, you know what? I'll get to this one, and if they ever tackle this era in animation and live action, it'd be cool if I didn't go in with prior knowledge and feeling of this era. So that's why I went into this show almost fresh, if you will, because I don't know any characters. They're all new except for one, Master Emwa, or I forget her name, but like she's the green master. And to me, the only thing that I could think of is that in the span of 100 years, you can, if they choose to, bring up Darth Plagueis. You can mess around with how soon have the Sith been open and how long have they been planning the invasion, if you will, of the Republic in the prequels era. And I think that it's a valid thing that people are asking about, but I also don't want, much like some of these current shows and potential movies, that I don't want us just to be beholden to the stuff we know, and I want to make sure that the characters we're following at the moment, we're connected with them, and if that stuff comes about, cool, that's a good layer to add to this era we're watching. But I don't want it to be beholden and just hope that that thing carries us all the way. So you could tackle, okay, what about Palpatine's master? How has that played? Where is he at in this time frame? Because we're seeing how there's talks already within the Jedi about like, okay, this girl is killing Jedis. Is she part of a separate cell or something worse? And you see, and again, it was something that I think me and Bizzy with Doug was like these moments where you just see that the scandal, the gossip, if you will, like, yo, what is going on down there?
Right.
You know, do we have to keep this hush hush from the High Council that if we let this out, we're gonna be thrown out politically, and how there's gonna be like, Tanakh comics coming out. Okay, cool. we see how this stuff is almost it's echoing that there's not, you see in the characters that stuff is gonna just go down worse and worse and worse for this foundation of this belief, and how we're not just seeing that, but we're also seeing the perspective of people from the outside. Like, okay, how did the Jedi come off? Did they actually come off as helpful or as opposing, as a menace, saviors, guardians, or infiltrators? It's a really fascinating thing, and that's why um, I'm digging this show. I'm digging this show. Is it my favorite thing in the whole world? No, but I'm like, you know what? I don't know that much of this era, and I like that I don't know that much era, and I'm already connected very much with two characters, and I'm liking where I'm following Osha and where her sister, and then we're gonna go forward. So it's that time period, and I feel like the possibilities are endless. I don't think we should limit ourselves to what we've known in the past, and yet do what Dave and his team were doing. We're like, okay, if there's something that fits what we're trying to tell the story, let's bring it in.
Yeah. No, that's good. Bizzy. I put these books up for a reason, and I haven't read them. I haven't read the High Republic. I barely have. I mean, I did collect some of the comic books, like some of the like old school comic books. But for you, what is kind of your take on certain aspects of negative and positive? Because I'm waiting for people in the comment section to come up, and I'm probably going to bring some more people in here. But like, were you enticed with the reality that this took place before or predated anything you have from source material for?
Yeah.
Or was it a little bit of a concern? Because one of the things that, like, if you go like Game of Thrones, when you don't have anything going off a book, it can go off the rails, or people's perspective could be slighted. For you, was it more so enticing, like, okay, new stories, new experiences? What was it for you, like,
So
versus what we're getting right now?
so definitely when they announced it, I was excited, but obviously I was worried due to some of the past projects I haven't been a huge fan of. Yeah, I watch them, but at the end of the day, they're not really rewatchable sometimes or whatever it is. But here, I wanted to be really excited because, again, the era is so different. This is something we haven't seen before. So I'm like, okay, there's, kind of a freedom where they don't have to mess up anything that's kind of going on currently in the world, where we have the Mandalorian, and which I love, but like at the same time, they can only do so much due to, of course, we still have these main big characters existing outside of, what they're doing. So it's like sometimes I feel as though, maybe they're a little limited because they can't bring in this character without doing this or this. But with what we have now, I love the aesthetic. I think it's so great to see this error. I'm loving I'm loving to see Coruscant. I'm loving the seeing the Jedi Temple again. But at the same time, it's like I feel as though they're doing things that are kind of changing things that I'm familiar with. And when they go out of their way to, I don't want to say retcon, but I feel like retcon is the right word. It doesn't make it so exciting for me, at least. But I don't know. I don't want to see them like continuously changing things. Like I'm liking what I got, but at the same time, I just don't. I'm not a huge fan of the change.
No, I think that is right there where if people have an issue with it, I want them to kind of speak up about it. That's why I really want to leave this open forum. And thanks everybody for being here. Just so you guys know, this is an open forum Q&A. If you guys can go to the chat or go to wherever you're looking at this at, let us know your perspectives on the Acolyte, things that you want to kind of bring up. We will go and talk about them here. So shout out to Lowdown Show. He said that during this era, the Darth Plagueis, and I don't know how to pronounce that name, Darth Tanais? Is that it? Tanais? Is it Tanais? Would be allowed.
I said Darth Tananas, I think. That's how
You may got the tinnitus.
I don't know about that, but like
But I mean, I think it's interesting that that is the case, because I don't. This is where it gets really dangerous, to be quite honest with you guys. Because if, hypothetically speaking, that is true and Darth Plagueis is there, then what you're doing is you're you're setting the expectation that people have. They're already in their head like, oh wow, this is the era, this person should be alive. And when they don't show up, we know riding the wave. We talk about it every single time. we watch it like we're just gonna ride a wave. A lot of people don't do that. They have a knee-jerk reaction because they're trying to associate something that they know. And if it isn't interconnectivity in the slightest, they feel like, okay, you're gonna retcon something or you're gonna deviate from the art because you want to tell your narrative. You want to tell what the creator of the show's narrative is. And I think that pisses off people on every different spectrum, from superhero movies to Star Wars or other stuff. And I think they become very passionate about it, and at times a little bit more on the abusive side with their verbiage. But I think that is a good starting point. Is it that at this point people are scared that there are things that they're changing with the lore of Star Wars because they're trying to give their own narrative of the witches, of the Jedi, of what the Sith is, and they're taking certain pieces and merging them together to make their own cohesive story. I think that's a good talking point, but there's the other side of it I want to make sure we focus on. What is the most important thing? Is the most important thing to give a good collective story, or do you have to stay so, I'm not going to say anal, to what certain things are or what it's supposed to be, that you deviate from making sure something is shoehorned to make sure it works? Because I think there's a balance to that, in my opinion. I think the best example of the balance is X-Men 97. And we could go and talk about that for days. There are things that they changed. Sure, they made darn sure that they kept everybody pleased. And I don't know how they did that impossible task, but they did it. With this, again, the first talking point, let's talk towards making and changing, manipulating things that you're concerned about retconning or deviating. And then the other side of that, if you either one of you guys want to tackle it or anybody in the comments wants to talk about it, is what happens if you have a specific focused narrative that predates everything, that you can tell a story a specific way. If it's good, then it's good. And I think that's a really good start. So, go ahead.
I'll say this. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and even me, I didn't grow up Power 1, Power 2, Power of Many. Even me, I didn't grow up with all the EU books, the Legends books as they're now labeled. I didn't grow up with all of them. I had heard about Thrawn, almost like in a gossip way. There's this Chiss, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I was like, ooh, okay, cool. I've heard of Dar. I've heard of all these people that are well known in the community that of the EU timeline. And what I've gone back to is that specifically these past 12 years, 12 years, is that even when Clone Wars in its heyday was being made, even Clone Wars in its heydays, that Dave Filoni and George Lucas were not beholden to the EU books and that legacy. That for them, what was canon was the movies and this current show. Even Gandhi's Clone Wars was not canon anymore. To an extent, unfortunately, even though you could keep stuff there anyways. And what I remember Filoni saying that is like, if we're gonna build a new character or bring something in that's similar to something in the EU, let's take a look at that first and see if we could just bring that in back, and use it into. I understand that the sentiment, and I feel like what they've done is like, okay, if we could bring it in and keep it very much similar to its core to what it was created by, then let's go with that. If not, let's just create something else. A perfect example is Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's introduced after Return of the Jedi in the original canon. Like, that was the next big battle that Luke, Han, and Leia had to deal with, was him. In the current in canon right now, he's brought up before that. And you see him go against the Rebels crew. Now, what's cool is that now that he, spoilers, survived, you can kind of more or less adapt those books. They may not be the same. We could adapt those books more or less if they choose to. They don't have to, but if they choose to. I think you can do a similar thing with Plagueis and all these big names that could be factors in this timeline, but they've always seen that as an extension, an extended not the full main canon, if you will. Now, again, this is someone who didn't grow up with the books. If you grow up with the books, I can understand that wholeheartedly. Like, man, they're fucking with what I know and what I was brought up with.
Yeah, I wish we could bring Ant in here because Ant is,
Oh yeah, he knows.
He's all about the EU books, and I mean, Dashell G, thank you for the comment. I want more people to speak up. I want you guys to kind of talk about this. I feel like the most humbling and healing aspect is just conversation, open forum, not in a random comment, not a sentiment, but let's really just talk and break down those different barriers to that. Because I could go and debate with what Ronin is saying to ask, like, okay, well, at what point were some of these things canonized? Does that leave an effect on what is true? Did the EU books become canon at this point to make this specific storyline? Because again, I'm not asking. I'm saying that openly because I don't want to lead this conversation. I'd rather everybody else do. But
what I'll say this to add on to what you were saying and what Dashell G is saying, I don't think the current canon has to be beholden to everything in the EU. I don't think so. I think there's elements you should still honor, but not everything down to the wire. Or unless it was a big old Republican, she may be okay. Then that could be very much the truth because I know she loves the prequels and she digs that era. She loves the Knights of the Republic era. To me, what the hell was I trying to say? Yeah, exactly. What was I trying to say? That you could be a fan of this stuff, but you don't. Fuck it, I'll say it. That you don't go out of your way to make 10, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 videos deliberately saying why this stuff doesn't add on, why you don't like this and all this stuff. That's where I feel like the convo potential almost fades away or like goes out of fun of that because if people are just banging on a nail like this 20 times and it just I don't think there's a convo to be had there. I think that we can have that convo, but when you get that vibe, I don't know if it's worth it or if it's even something that could be useful.
yeah. Bizzy. What are some of your thoughts on some of this? And also, I don't know if any of your TikTok people are asking questions either. I want to give them time to.
I don't know. I am enjoying Ronin kind of going off and
No,
saying what he needs to say.
Go ahead, Verona. Go
But
ahead.
at the same time, yeah, go ahead, Ronin.
No.
But at the
Floor is
same
yours,
time,
Bizzy.
I know, but I don't want to. I
You're
hate
not
to
gonna.
say it because it's like I feel like I'm sounding like one of those just toxic fanboys, but I'm not gripped onto it yet. Like I'm liking what I liked a little bit of what I saw, but I mean I'm just like I said, I hate the change, And again, the source materials, I understand that there's not always gonna stick to that. If it wasn't originally made to be canon, or if it was made to be, I don't fucking know. All I know is that like they're not always gonna stick to that. If they can take inspiration, that's great. But the thing that I'm not liking is I feel as though they're sometimes taking away from what I'm familiar with the actual movies. So it's like the idea that they're changing just I don't know whether they're changing or they're semi changing where we have that line by Mundi where they were saying that we haven't seen a Sith in over 1,000 years, and then people are like, oh no, this isn't a Sith, this is a dark Jedi, so it's okay. It's like there's just a lot of things in my head where I'm just trying to understand a little more, and from I don't know, I just want them to explain things. I don't know if they need to explain it better or whatever they're doing, but I'm just not 100% there yet with this show.
No, I think that's the reason why
But boy, Jonathan.
the point of this is to leave it as a healing experience. That's the whole point of this Q&A for me. Whether you walk away from this Q&A liking the show or still hating the show, the point is us figuring out a common ground as to how we got here. And is there validity for this show to even exist at this point? So I want to give recognition to Millie. It hurts my heart because Disney has shown they create masterpieces. The first and second seasons of The Mandalorian, Andor, Rogue One, all 10 out of 10s, I guess, in her perspective. What is the Acolyte and some of these other stuff is sad. I think she's probably, I guess, talking about Mandalorian season 3 or Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
It's interesting. She didn't say anything about Obi-Wan. She didn't mention Ahsoka. So it sounds like, Millie, that you've had certain differences of opinion with those specific series. Millie, if you can expound on what do you think was lacking in those, that would be great. Because let's talk about it. Because we can accompany to it being not well crafted, or the delivery of how the story is, or the narrative, or it could be changing the source material and the unknown. I'd rather us talk about it evenly than just kind of like make the statement. I respect your statement though, Millie. Thank you for letting me.
I respect it as well, and I want to just go back to what Bizzy was saying. If that's how he feels, he is perfectly valid for that. But guess what? What I'm proud with what he doesn't do is that he goes and deliberately goes to the actors, the actresses, the creators, directors, production designers, scores, or UOs, and like goes after them on a daily basis or consistently when I like Bizzy goes, you know what? I absorbed it, I took it in. Right now it's funky feeling. I don't know how I feel it. And I think if I'm not mistaken, he'll probably stick around and give it a try to the end, which a lot of people don't do that. And it's just like, okay, he's gonna give it a try, but he's not going past a line that is being crossed, in my opinion. And that's what and I love how Millie stated that as well. I'm like, and I don't think she's doing they're doing the same thing, if you will. So I don't know. It's just it's the vibe that I'm feeling off, and I'm like, I get it. If it's not a cup of tea, I get it. You mentioned Book of Boba Fett, or as you like to say, Book of Boba Fett. As a whole, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I didn't go on a consistent basis and go after everybody involved in that show, or Obi-Wan Kenobi as well. As a whole, I didn't dug it. Looking back at it, I don't dig it. When the blur came out, I was like, I don't know, I should buy it or not. But again, I'm not going after you and anybody involved. That's where I think
Yeah.
Our vibe is like
No, I think that is that is a good topic. And Kenya, I will bring up your question in just a second. Just hold fast. And Millie, thank you for responding back. I'll put that up in a second. One thing I will say, this is absolutely happening. This has happened. It happened on Obi-Wan in a very specific way.
Oh,
It happened on this show. I'm not gonna go and dive in deep because I'm not gonna trigger anybody tonight. But there's absolutely some verbiage and some things that's kind of implied that really are off-putting because they come from a mean, hateful place. And I think that you can respectfully say, yeah, this show is trash. I'm not watching this. Or you could say, you know, this show is really bad. But I'll see if it gets any better. And leave it at that. But what happens is you get people that go into different comments or go into like Twitter or go into social medias and start targeting certain actors or actresses. That I don't think is excusable. At the end of the day, these are actors that go and are being paid to do a role, whether or not they've been passionate about Star Wars the rest of their life, or they chose like, I just want to do this just because, you know, somebody said it's a good payday. At the end of the day, that is their full right as actors. They're not attacking you, nor is anybody that initially created it are intentionally trying to hurt you. So I think that there is a basis of hate that I've seen come out, but it's not just been with Star Wars. I've seen it with certain other
franchises,
creatives and franchises, and I don't think any of it is positive. I think that's very toxic because what happens is you could go into a comment, or I pulled this picture up. When everybody saw the first trailer of this, whether they went to Star Wars Celebration and saw something beforehand or saw the actual trailer, if somebody looked at that trailer and was like, oh man, this was a freaking dope trailer, they might not even say it, because if they look at the dislikes, like, oh man, I'm going to be gaslighted if I say I like this joint. Our last review that we did for, I think, episode 3, there were people saying like, oh, you guys are some shills. Like, why are you guys like, liking this? And like somebody in the comment section is like, no, they're allowed to like this. And I think that depending on if you're like a critic or not, like you thinking about looking at something or not, whether or not it's bad or whether or not it's good, it's your perspective whether or not you want to watch it. If somebody is like putting you down in a certain way, like you're going to be less inclined to say anything. And I think that that's where it becomes very toxic. That's where there's a dangerous place here. But I'm gonna go now and give Kenya his put up. Here's the question: who's holding back Star Wars? Is it the fans or the creators? That's
Ooh.
a very triggering question, Kenya, and I don't want to answer that. I want you guys to answer that. So you guys in the comments.
Oh, they meant. I thought you meant me and Bizzy.
There's somebody here that wants to answer that question, but I'm not gonna let him do it. But I am gonna bring him in. Jedi Mike 7. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's going on? Can you guys hear me properly? I'm trying out a new camera. I got different angles on you.
You're lagging behind just a little bit. We can hear you, but you're lagging behind.
I'm you can't see me?
We can see you're lagging behind. So when you say something that's coming, you're mouthing after the fact.
Okay.
Kind of unique. I'm like,
okay. Better?
No.
We can hear you, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna. I'll get this situated. So, but yeah, when it comes with who's holding back is the fans or the creators, and I think a part of it is both because as you, Sam, and I know, we're both in a group chat of passionate Star Wars fans and also movie critics and everything, and they're going back and forth about what's the big consensus of what the issues with Star Wars. I told this to Ronin and the other day. I have now emotionally removed myself as a fan currently of Star Wars right now. Not saying that I don't enjoy it. Obviously, my name is Jedi Mike for a reason, but I also know is that if you ask me what's when I was younger, what was my favorite Star Wars movie, I say Revenge of the Sith, right? If I ask someone who's in their 40 plus, whatever, what was their favorite movie, they'll probably say Empire Strikes Back. Now, what was one thing that's consistent with both of those answers? That both of these people were children when these movies came out. And one thing I think a lot of us don't realize, how we are no longer the target audience anymore. And I think that a lot of people need to understand that the original films were targeted to children. Even now, as you've seen now with the current fan base and everything, most people that are frustrated are the older generation, even prequels who are now older now. And I feel like to a part where now we can't really enjoy content for what it is anymore, and saying, listen, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Personally, I mean, I have issues with the show, but I'm not going to say it's the worst thing in the world, because I've seen far worse shows in general take Star Wars out of it. But the thing about this too is that there's two sides of the same coin. I told this to Miguel, that you have the everything is awesome crowd, which is that Marvel is also at scrutiny for this. But then you also have the anti-woke, the conservative crowd, whatever, that anytime they see a woman or a minority cast or in general that's predominantly on screen, they have to find a reason for say, oh, it's woke. But also a part to play in that, because of certain properties, not all of them, have been consistent. We're not being seceding because of trying to target a certain audience or having certain type of representation. They think, oh, this show and this movie failed because there was a leading woman, because there was a minority or African Americans or Latino or whatever majority in this cast. That's why it failed, aside from the writing. And because of that, the Hollywood studios have now trained the average moviegoer, who is probably now leaning to the saying, oh, everything is agenda, everything they watch, every type of content or entertainment they consume is therefore has an agenda behind it, which is the main agenda, which is to make money, not to, say a political message, just to make money. This is for profit. Star Wars doesn't care about representation. They care about profit. And so I think the part of that, what people are saying about what is holding us back, I think it's in terms of our media literacy. The fact that what we can consume as content and saying, hey, can we just enjoy this for what it is? And then if it's bad, it's just bad because of writing, not because of the agenda. But yet when we look at comments consistently, and also in the media where actors are and directors too are refusing to do any type of Star Wars or Marvel properties, because they know what the backlash is going to get from getting threats and everything. And I'm not going to say no any type of people name, obviously for the sake of the channel, but for the fact that certain content creators have now shift their entire content to just serve a narrative that's just going on in this echo chamber, not because saying, I can say whatever I want and no one's not paying me to say if I like something or paying me to say I hate something. But when they are generally going, not because they watch something, no, you're watching someone else's YouTube video to confirm your bias on something that you already think is going to be trash, not because you watched the show. Even in for people in Rotten Tomatoes, there were, and I don't know, you can tell this in the back end, confirm this, Sam, but there were emails that were sent, notified, where people were saying, oh, hey, Rotten Tomatoes critics, just letting you know, there are people already review bombing before the show even came out. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I'm hold on 1 second. Yeah, Kenya, I'm trying to make sure I give everybody it's because it's a Q&A. I want to make sure everybody can speak in. Right, the target audience changes around every 7 to 10 years, sometimes sooner. Transformers going through this as I speak, same with the MCU. So yeah, that's actually true, Kenya. I want to go back up to Millie's response. So thank you, Millie, for your first comment. In Ahsoka, being stabbed with a lightsaber and then being fine. Not even a robotic augmentation really took me out in the world. And the danger aspect, it disappointed me. Though Ahsoka fights were cool. Thank you for that, Millie. Again, this is what I want. I want somebody to just tell me, what is it that you had an issue with? I can understand.
Yep.
Like, believability it goes a long way. Like, I mean, I'm gonna ask you guys this question. This is a triggering question. If you get stabbed with a lightsaber, anyone, if you get stabbed with a lightsaber, does it immediately cauterize the wound? Like, if it stabs you right here and it gets pulled out and it's not like stuck there or gets pulled to the right, like, is it an immediate death? Or
See, I don't know anymore.
has anybody like? That's why I asked all of you guys here, because back in my day, like, when you get stabbed with a lightsaber, you're dead. Like, it's not like it's gonna cauterize. It's not like, you can use the force to heal yourself or maintain like blood flow. Heck, we look at a freaking anime called Kaiju number 8, and they got some suits. You get shot with a bullet or whatnot, or somebody like mortally wounds you, it starts to heal and repair your tissue. So at this point now, we're in a world where sci-fi is ramped up, and it's moved past where Star Wars is the only source of sci-fi that we've had. So I think that I understand fully what she's saying. I get it, but I don't know.
I get it, but I also, again, I even looked at it because when I first saw the episode, I was like, wait, what about Qui-Gon? And then, I remember it was like, wait a minute. Okay, cool. I completely understand that sentiment. I was like, wait, okay, cool. So that level of danger in a way is kind of gone. But then again, this is also the same franchise that cut off somebody in half and then a few years later brought him back in a spider legs and whatnot, and made him, in my opinion, a more interesting character than just the cool guy with horns. Back then compared to now, which again, it's a great way, because okay, that was prequel eras. Now we're in the New Republic. Their iPhones must have been updated. Their surgery lab must have been updated now. So I'm like, okay, that could be a sense, but I think it may take away the drama out of it. I think there's a big reason why when Qui-Gon gets it, it's just like, damn, that sucks, because it was this one Jedi that was willing to help and not just be like, no, it's not part of the rules. Yeah, it's the emotional level. So I don't know, but then again,
hey, Kenya, that's not true. Leia got hit. She got hit. She lived.
What another great example? She got shot and was like, it's okay, why not? But because it was the most recent thing, oh my God, what's happening? The Titanic. I'm not losing sleep over this shit. Come on.
But no, that's a really good point though, because it goes back to what Millie's even saying, is that back in the day when Empire Strikes Back, when my man Luke, right, in the movie got his freaking hand cut off, I was like, and first time watching, I was like, dang, like how's he supposed to fight now? Like, he's gonna have to just be like this. And they introduced the idea of a prosthetic, an animatronic, like cyborg prosthetic. And that concept is so sci-fi, but again, that was above our comprehension at the time. So it actually made for good discussion even towards this. Merely, yeah, the lightsaber Fraser inside like an oven. So really, it would ruin the world building at the start because it's like there's a gym someone can get up from a lightsaber stab.
But look at this reply. What an excellent Millie. Thank you for this reply because it looks like she's not losing sleep over it. What an
Right.
excellent reply to this. And also let's look at Phoenix Shan. She got shot. And we're all like, oh man, they used Ming-Na Wen for just an episode. And she comes back and whoop, she got a new stomach, cyborg stomach.
What?
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
comment.
if you go look back at Mando season 2, when Mando's like, what?
You know, it
You're
sounds
still
really
alive?
ridiculous when you start saying it. When I hear from
So,
from someone else's mouth.
So no, this is good because at what point do you start suspended belief for the entertainment? And I'm asking all of us because we look at some crazy stuff now. Like we're still looking at Fast and the Furious movies. There is no believability.
I'm not
at all.
I fuck with those movies.
But we
Get outta
watch it because we're entertained. There's
Yeah,
never
right.
like every single like from you know what, since the first movie, realistically, everything is a suspension of belief.
Fast and the Furious?
Now, yeah, because
The
think
first
about
one?
yeah, since the first one, there's not been any one of them since the first one that really is very believable in certain things that's happened. No,
I don't know. That first one was
I don't
really
know
much
about
a Point
that,
Break
man.
like ripoff. It wasn't like G.I. Joe
no,
type of, you know.
no. Believability. If you freaking jump off, right? If you jump in off of a moving truck, you're gonna scar your freaking hand up. You're gonna be done. If you get hit, you're hit. You're not gonna sit there and pick up a freaking truck and throw it, or move it to the side, or hold.
See, that's the one thing you don't understand. The family. I mean, with that on your back,
I'm to the point that
he chugged the Corona before.
everything
You've
in
never done that, bro.
Everything in that movie, from a believability standpoint, like there's people that could do that and either die or survive from it.
Hey, just because you can't lift a car, man, doesn't mean that Vin Diesel.
Hey,
I'm not
man,
talking about
The Rock
car.
holded a torpedo on ice and saved us. Okay, if The Rock could do it.
But
For family.
I bring all that up to say again, like we're in a world with superheroes. Batman is still Batman, right? And there's a lot of things that's happening. Batman is my favorite character of anything, and yet he has survived many of things and done many of interesting things and calculated how to handle people that he's never seen before and been prepared for. There is absolutely a suspension of belief that has to happen when we're talking about some of these things. And I think that people make it so personal or impressionable that they can't even enjoy it anymore. Like everybody is so overcritical on what is this wouldn't happen. But I get it. I get logic. Logic at some point is going to start to bleed in. That's why a lot of these MCU movies are suffering because logic is bleeding in. The last Thor movie that came out, everybody was like, wait. You're saying that Thor could give his powers to anyone? Why would he never have given it to the Avengers? Why did Natasha have to die? You know, so there are things absolutely that happen that I think were from a narrative perspective that were choices that were made, but it's like the suspension of belief goes against logic sometimes. And if that is this case in this show, if there's a suspension of belief that's happened or things that have been broken canon that's happened that doesn't make sense, I can understand it, but at the same time, it's not gonna make me go and lash out and hate over it. I think that's the difference. Like I think you're entitled to your opinion. Like this doesn't make sense, and this makes me kind of ponder where we're going from the narrative perspective. But if you're saying that because it's like breaking code and it's bad, I don't know if that lines up. I think that's the difference. And that's one of the things I was even going to go and ask Bizzy and Mike, like, what were the things that they explicitly thought were bad about the show and why? But before I go down that route, I want to give everybody time to comment. I'm also going to give some giveaways. I think I'm going to give some digital copies for these two movies. One, I don't know if I got that right. Yeah. So American Sniper, I'm gonna give a digital copy away of that, and Oppenheimer in just a second. I think I got a lot more movies I'm gonna give
Bizzy.
because we haven't done live stream in a minute. Bizzy, I still got your copy over there. Don't worry. All right, comic and other cons. Remember, I think the first time we saw a lightsaber in action, Obi-Wan cut off an alien's arm. and it was bloody on the ground and not fused. It's true. It's absolutely facts. Like it's kind of like, all right, you cut somebody's arm, that's it. Like they ain't getting their arm back. Like they're gonna bleed out, or they're gonna run tail. So nah, thank you for that. Let's see. I love Star Wars and still look forward to every Disney product. Just because I don't like one doesn't mean I lose for.
Hell yeah, Millie.
And I'm eager for Andor season 2 and Mando Grogu.
Hell yeah, Millie.
It's kind of like I'm not saying everybody has to be a Millie, but I think you should at least be open to not just dove into hate, because I think a lot of people before this show even came out were hating it. Before the trailer even came out, they were like,
yeah, that's wrong.
Right. And if you're already having your perspective, and people do this not just with Star Wars, people do this with movies and shows. They're like, this is gonna be some hot garbage. No, like they already ready to pounce on it. Heck, that Velma show, right? No. Hear me out. When somebody sent me, they didn't even have. I think they had a picture and they had a description of what the Velma show was gonna be. I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good. But I tell you this, I watched the whole first season. I gave it a chance. I gave it a fair shot. But it's easy to go and throw something in the trash ahead of time and then just make it look cool. Like, yeah, now this is going to be some garbage. I think it's just open lip service. Like you say something is going to be bad because you're looking at it like it really could be. But I think for us, because we're critics and journalists, we give everything we give everything a fair shot. So yeah, I know Mike was an anime character just for a second. I'm not sure why he's doing that, but
you guys can see me and you guys can hear me.
No,
Mike, we've heard you the whole time, dude. Your mic has been good.
I was saying, but can you see me?
We see.
Yeah,
something.
but it's like lagging.
It's lagging.
It's not sync, man. It's not sync.
Okay. All right. But yeah, but to answer your question again, what was your question again?
I didn't ask the question.
Oh, my bad.
I didn't ask the question.
My apologies. But no, I didn't mean. No, I said I didn't mean to. Again, not saying trying to trigger anybody here, but this literally is. I think it is a. I kind of see it from a what do you call from a macro perspective. Because I'm standing back here, and I remove myself, and as someone who not only just as a critic, but understanding also just as a film pundit, understanding the industry, is that these patterns are repeating themselves, and of terms of the fans' reaction, critic response, and then outcomes of the show, and nobody is not, at least people are picking up on it, but a lot of people are not understanding the bigger picture. They think, oh no, see, it's the worst show ever. No. You have to understand the hypocrisy that's coming out of us as a fan base, even when we're saying something that we give grace or something that's good in another property, right? Not away from Star Wars, right? And for me, as someone who I'm not really enjoying the show, I can say it's like I'm not losing sleep over it. However, I think it's just more people just have a religious view of what they beholden to, where they're like, no, this is my Star Wars and nobody can change it and nothing can be new and everything. And then it's like, and anything that is new, whatever, it's it's bad. And if it's the same as what I got before, then it is bad because they're not doing anything new. It's the same stuff. It's rehash of this movie, rehash of this show, rehash of this story arc. And so it's like, you damn if you do, you damn if you don't. And
it's interesting that you say religion, because this show,
right, exactly, right.
Show, I mean, with spoiler alert, like one of the main characters in this show, was born into a religion or born into a cause, so to speak, and she wanted something else. She, it's epitome of like somebody growing up in a certain denomination. And all of a sudden they're like, no, I like their perspective better. I want to kind of move away. I don't want to do this anymore. They go to a completely different, and then they try that, and then it leads them astray as well. And then they end up with absolutely nothing. I say that to say it's just ironic that you bring that up, because that's one thing that I think I haven't heard anybody critique or talk about.
Of course not.
the basis of one of the main characters is they were shunned, or they kind of walked away from two different religious viewpoints, and they're in this middle place where they're still in love with their initial decision, but they can't move their way back. And I thought that was a really interesting talking point, like, because the ideas of this show are amazing.
Yep.
And I don't think that they are being looked at because there's so many other overarching perspectives of problems. I don't think they're actual problems. I think it is a perspective of problems. But anyway, we weren't here to really kind of give our views on it. Let me go back real quick. Kenya, that's very true, Sam. When you have allowed movies to take on this and be entertaining, why does everything have to be hyper logical? Each frame has to be hyper dissected. We can get movies like Starship Troopers from Dusk Till Dawn anymore. For this day that Reese, I agree with you. Yeah, man. Starship Troopers was lit, man. And it's so corny and so cheesy, but I love every freaking second of it. That joint ended up becoming a animated series that was so good and it was so grounded. But yeah, Daryl, I will watch season 2 and 3 are not happening. Hard pass. Daryl, if you're still there, can you let us know why? If you can respond back with the reasoning, I will give you another movie real quick. Let me see if I can find something down here.
And see, that's what I would say. Like, for me, one of the freshest things that I've seen out of this franchise is Andor. I was so happy that I cared about these characters that I had no knowledge of. The fact that I care about somebody, a random character in prison, trying to get out, meant the world to me so much. The fact that I'm intrigued to see where these Imperial officers go says a lot about that show for me.
All right, Daryl, if you can come back and give us an actual response on the reason and why, I'll get you picked between either one of these movies. I'll give you the pick right now. So please let me know.
My man,
for your comment. Thank you for your comment, man. My point on the comment. So people are taking property too seriously. At the end of the day, it's subjective. Like what you like, what you hate for entertainment. It's all entertainment. Good on you, Low Down Show. I think that's a really good sentiment. Bizzy, you were gonna say something earlier before Mike was talking about his camera. What were you gonna say?
It was totally unrelated, and now I forget.
What was it about?
I totally forget. Now, like I spaced out heavily.
Okay, all right, Bizzy. How are you thinking about this?
I said my piece, bro.
Bizzy,
I said my piece.
Don't be scared, Bizzy. Ain't nobody gonna catch you, bro.
I'm not scared. I said my piece, bro. I mean, I'm cool
and I respect that.
I wish, I felt like this for a long time. This is really unrelated to the Acolyte, but as a whole, if you're gonna like I understand with the original trilogy, maybe they didn't have all their shit together when they were coming up with ideas. Like, hey, we didn't even know that we wanted Luke to be the son of Darth Vader until this moment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But years later, especially when we're like making the sequel trilogy, when you're like dropping something or making movies for a franchise this massive with a fan base that massive, you would hope that there'd be like a storyboard or like a thought process for those 3 movies. So it's like, it just feels as though even now they're just like throwing shit out of their ass, you know. Sometimes they're just like spewing nonsense sometimes and just hoping it lands.
Can you give an example? Can you give an example?
I mean,
we can break it down.
Okay, so for an example, I feel as though they don't have an entire plan with certain things. Like The Mandalorian, for an example, I loved season 1 and 2, but season 3 just felt scrambled. It felt like they were trying to set up something that they didn't even know what they were trying to set up. And now we have a movie that's supposed to come out that was supposed to be something else, but I'm pretty sure they've changed what it's supposed to be like 2 or 3 times. We got The Acolyte, which again, I'm enjoying a little bit with what I've gotten, but again, lore-wise, it just feels as though they're switching up stuff on us. And again, I've mentioned that I'm just not feeling that. Not a huge fan of that. And again, I just feel as though they're just juggling certain things and just
what part of the lore on Acolyte do you feel like they're switching up? And Mike, you can comment on it as well. But what part of the lore? Because
I already mentioned.
Go ahead.
I already mentioned the Mundi thing, but the a second thing, I mean, I used to think, Anakin was special. I used to think that whole idea that the whole him being created out of the Force, they made it sound like this is something that never happens. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that this is you know, something that has happened, not even just like 1,000 years prior, but 100 years prior, it just makes it feel minimal and makes his entire kind of existence feel just kind of weak at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Are you alluding to the twins?
Yeah.
Because the reason why I asked that, I'm fine with, I respect that. The thing that's really different, in my opinion, about the twins, this seems like this was a man-made manifestation. This wasn't something that was spontaneous. This is something that somebody, I don't know the dynamics of how they did it, but basically they manipulated something to put something in someone. I don't know how to say it without it's coming off really weird.
Yo,
But
Jedi, you look like you're about to get slain by Anakin, bro. You got to change that up.
But what I'm saying is that, really, Mike, come on, man. I'm trying to make a point, bro. I don't even know what you're doing.
Go for it, Sam. Go for it.
Bro.
I don't even know if I'm even remember.
About the twins and how, the prophecy, if you will.
Anakin still technically is a first of his kind because there was no manipulation of the midichlorians to put something in his mother, right?
Virgin Mary.
These witches manipulated something and they created these two twins out of it. It's more so, to me, I think this is the most authentic, Anakin is the most authentic version of what it looks like for true balance. Like, it's so weird because it was like, I don't know, with the witches, it seems very different. I still think that Anakin is still very special because it wasn't anybody in between creating it. You know what I'm saying, Bizzy? So I don't think you're losing out on that, in my opinion.
Same. I feel like there's more than one prophecy, and I don't think it brings down Anakin's tale and whatnot. Like there's 6 films dedicated to what happened to that fool, I think, and technically 9 if you go about it. But I agree that I think with the whole thing of the prophecies is that the franchise can't just be that. It could be more than that and still have that as a unique side of it.
Don't go down that road. Don't go down that road, comic.
I will. Yeah, I will say again, as someone that said I read the books and everything, that I was again. My thing is I'm open to interpretation because again, especially if you go into the Last Jedi with Luke talking about the Jedi religion and talking about how the Force doesn't really belong to anyone, how the Jedi thing they've taken in and because it caused that imbalance, and then with this that leads to interpretation how the balance of the Force can be manipulated and everything. I think the biggest thing that people had issues with and again, I won't say people who I follow who actually made valid points, talking about just in terms of the lore of the Force. And now when you get into the whole thing about the thread, that does get kind of confusing for some people where it's like, well, how you're she's basically the statements that she was making episode 3 was kind of contradicting herself, saying, hey, it's not something, you let it, you receive the thread, whatever, then you push and pull it, but then you can't control it. And then it's not about power, but then it is about power. It's like there are things that people were saying that the mom or the mother was basically contradicting herself in terms of the interpretation of the thread. Now, when you're adding a new concept like that, okay, and that can go like, all right, I'm not saying I'm opposed to changing because again, think about religion, different sides to it. But I think the way they did it probably caused an uproar because people have such a clear-cut view what the Force is. Even when we get into Rebels, when the Force is expanded upon with other creatures, and stuff like that. And Dave Filoni, I think, did a really good job expanding that aspect of that. But I think again, that episode really crossed the line with a lot of people where I feel like even though it didn't bother me, I can definitely see how it bothered a lot of other people.
Hold on. So now we're going, okay, hold on. Okay, so the basis of your issue with the show, and Bizzy's more so, is the concern or the manipulation of source material. It's not based on the acting. It's not based on the story. It's not based on the structure.
I almost never have beef with the acting.
I disagree.
No, I'm asking. It's a question.
I do have issues. My main concern really is just the writing, and I think again episode 3, I thought some of the performance from the children weren't really, I think, directed well. Not saying I don't believe they're bad actresses. I just think they just weren't directed very well. And I think dialogue is really hurting this show. For I think that it could be better for most audiences and stuff like that. In terms of plot, again, I have not. I can't say I've seen the entire season to say, oh yeah, the plot is not connecting very well when some things are supposed to be leading up to something to give us revelation in an upcoming episode. But will I say that the pacings kind of feel dragged on for some people? Yes, I can say it gets for slow. If you're not invested, you'll be bored for some people. For me personally, I was getting kind of a little bit bored for certain scenes and stuff, and kind of trying to skip through, like, hey, let's get to the meat. What's going on here? But yeah, that's my main concern really with the writing and connecting a plot. The source material, whatever, no, because this source material was created also. Let's make that for sure. Like, this was the Lucasfilm. They got and a bunch of different writers. They got in a collective, oven, and basically try to, and bake this new story, this new era and within Star Wars. So everything, all of this is original, but so this is new material. But again, it's nothing that we're basing off of because this is something that they created. I can't say you're going against the source material when you're the one that created it and you wrote the rules or so in the High Republic era books, which a few of them that I read. But yeah,
So with the writing specifically, so we can try to tap in. Again, I'm doing this, you guys, so I can kind of not trigger you guys, but I want to allow for open conversation, open forum. You said, I can understand the pacing aspect. As far as the performances, I'm gonna say this nicely. I don't know a lot of good child performance direction that was executed very well in a lot of Star Wars live action anything. That's just my personal perspective. I don't think they've and I'm gonna leave that there for as far as episode 3 is concerned. But in terms of the writing, what about the writing specifically, Mike? Whoa.
So with the writing, I feel that I gave grace the first 2 episodes, and I think the first 2 episodes weren't really that bad. I was like, okay, I think really episode 3, and this is where it's kind of like I'm getting kind of a little bit disinterested with the story between the sisters because I'm trying to see where they're going with here. But again, it's like I can't say that I'm understanding the plot because I haven't seen the full plot. But with the writing, with let's say the main one really was episode 3. I think that really goes to that. Let's start with that. Okay. When we're talking about a coven of witches, right, set in a subsector.
You're about to where you're going. Okay, I'm let you talk.
All right,
because you're going off of source, but go ahead.
I'm not going off of source because I'm okay. Like, all right, it's fine, but I've seen the witches of Dathomir. Okay, I get that, I get it. But when we're trying to bring these two young sisters into basic coven witches, while the Jedi are apparently spying on them and saying that, oh, we're coming here to abduct your children. The representation of Jedi in this show, I'm feeling some type of way about it because I'm just feeling some type of way about it.
I'm not trying to debate you. That's still source because it's coming from your perspective of what you see, from what the Jedi are, what they've done. And even some people, we have a conversation while we were watching it. I've said for years, I wasn't necessarily behind the way in which Jedi, have people that are force sensitive and how they bring people on very young. I've had an issue with that because honestly, if somebody knocked on my door and said, hey, your son is this, he's that one, he's that next Lily Bruce. And I'm like, yeah, he needs to, I need to get him real quick, man. And I'm like, no, Why you ain't get my guy to understand? What you talking about? I don't care what he is. Like, let him, when he's 12 years old, let him make that decision. You know what I'm saying? But
we had almost like a mini debate of you when we were watching.
We were watching that joint, and I was like, I ain't never been a part of this. And
that's what I loved about that episode is that like
ninjas,
the perspective of like
I know, but I wasn't. I said I wasn't finished with one point.
Go ahead.
So with that, okay, not saying they're coming to abduct your children. Obviously, could they even say we have a legal right to be here? Understand that, whatever. With the relationship between but with the relationship between the two sisters, right? When it came to the dynamic of, oh yeah, well, she want to be a witch so bad, but she really don't want to be, any type of witch or anything like that, right? And then also the complete character shift saying, hey, you can't go, I'll kill you. That was like out of random. I was like, wait, what? Now you just want to kill your sister that you're so attached to and stuff. That didn't make no sense to me. And again, the story structure, I know there'll probably be more that gonna be explained, but all right, a fire that burnt, that just apparently just one simple fire just kind of just destroyed and killed all the witches. But that
was a throw off. You know that, right? Like, realistically, we can all hear Force say that absolutely not, that fire killed the rest of those witches. That realistically, the Jedi were involved with how they died. Like, the whole point of that scene as a whole, and hopefully, God forbid, any of you guys that watched it, y'all think that she's the reason why these witches died. That's not the case. The whole point was to really throw everybody off.
Right, but then and when you got to the separation of them, right, we already established that Soul, who was the best character of the show. I think we're all can agree.
I think he's a good
right, but I also think Daphne King, I think she's doing a good job. That's just a side note. With all right, Soul could have saved both the twins because he stopped Osha mid fall from falling off the cliff, and you telling me you couldn't save May because of what they were separated or whatever? Like, you could have saved both of them. But all right, aside from that, then we get into this current episode talking about what the Jedi, saying we can't inform the Senate because we don't want our reputation as Jedi to look bad. I'm like, wait a minute. So you mean tell me one of your, let's say, call it officers or whatever, are being deleted and through the galaxy, and the assassins going and targeting them, and we're not going to form the Galactic Senate to give us some help?
So go ahead, keep going, Mike.
I'm talking about the era we're in. I'm just saying that's just that again. I just my basic understanding of authority figures are like, hey, if something's gonna happen, we have to inform the Senate. Yeah, but he murdered allegedly murdered not one but two Jedi, even though one, he deleted himself.
If we're going off of that, and we look at what happened with the gosh darn prequels and how all that shiggity went down, and what the Senate did with that, this is not anything new. I'm sorry, this is not new. This is not. It's not just corruption. It's stupidity. It's idiocracy, in the sense that when you're being led by literally the person that is tearing down the whole empire, not only you're not cognizant of it, but you're also allowing the progression of it to benefit. And some people know. So I hate to say it, Mike. When I was watching it, I heard exactly everything you said is absolutely correct. But this isn't anything new that I haven't seen. Like, it wasn't logical. Even I go back to one. I love Revenge of the Sith, right? I love
it.
I actually really love it. I think that was Hayden Christensen's best role up until his performance in Ahsoka, to be quite honest.
Yes, I agree.
The moment that man, this is gonna be so triggering. The moment that Yoda had his final fight and he was going up against the big bad, and then all of a sudden Yoda couldn't hold on no more and he fell and kind of had to scurry away. I was like, I'm surprised he didn't use the Force to stop his fall. Is he not like one of the most strongest Jedi ever? Like, why was it that in this fight just automatically just stopped with the blink? Was that plot? or was that reality? If you're telling me that he was able to absorb lightning and maneuver around the way he was, and he just all of a sudden just felt his like he's hurt and he got to scurry away, get out of here, bro. That's trash. When I was a kid watching that made no sense. So it's kind of like it goes back to what we were talking about before. What is logic versus entertainment? What is this for plot, or is this for like how you're just trying to drive the narrative? So I'm not disparaging what you're saying, Mike, but I've always kind of had certain small questions with certain intentional things and changes that are kind of made. But I don't know.
Yeah, listen. The point blank, I'll just keep it. I'm watching the show with my wife, right? I just at this point I've already told my wife how you felt. Yeah, you call me, Ninja, call me. No, I already know what Mike's face gonna say about the episode. Anyway,
I was gonna ask you this, Mike, because you got in a little earlier. Before the show came out, what were you when you realized that this took place 100 years beforehand? What was your actual real thought?
I thought this was gonna be aside from what was it? Fantastic Four announcement and the what was it? I won't say via Falcon Winter Soldier or something like that. Like those were the best announcements for me out of the Disney investor meeting, during that, when streaming or, they're talking about everything that's coming out on Disney Plus because the rule. Yeah. Because the I thought Acolyte, knowing that wasn't saying it could be told in the perspective of the dark side, user. But unfortunately, that's not what we're getting. That's I'm saying there were 3 episodes in. That's not what we're getting here. I was excited for this show.
Weren't. Oh, okay. I was wondering. I was worried. I was wondering if you were actually concerned about how they would handle 100 years before, predating. And the only thing we're going off of is the High Republic books.
No, because this is what we've been asking for. That's the thing. We've been asking how many before. I think it was before Game of Thrones season 8. When we heard that the Lindelof and was it not David
Benioff and Wise?
Yeah, Benioff Wise, right? They were signing on to do a few Star Wars films, right? And I think it was speculated or rumored that that was going to be set in the High Republic era. That's what we wanted, right?
And that's what I
think people. Well, I think more people wanted the old Republic.
No. I'm saying a different era within Star Wars. The High Republic was something after when we're like High Republic wasn't even a thing when that happened when they were attached to that, So so that's what everybody wanted, and that's what I wanted. A new era within Star Wars. We can focus on a new set of characters and create a new saga within the storytelling where we're not beholden and crux to the Skywalker family. And this is almost something like what House of Dragons is doing. House of Dragons is great, set in different era, and arguably might be better than the original series. But I think that's what I'm saying. There were things in this show that I was anticipating, even then, talking about from the perspective of Dark Side, going into the rule of 2, a master and apprentice, how seeing that visually told from the other perspective, that's something that would be interesting. But again, I'm not beholden that if you do something different, I'm open to it. I would say this. Never, I don't, even though I'm, excited, anticipating this to happen, I never become my speculation, become my expectation.
You pull that one.
I'm dropping bars. Okay. That's the thing. I think that's the number one thing that kills a lot of fans, though, is that thank you. See, I'm not the only one here.
No, I remember hearing that. Yeah.
I got it. So I just feel like this is just there was opening things that they could have done here, where it's just based on the name and the pitch alone. Oh, you got me. So yeah, that's where my initial reaction when they announced it.
I'm gonna shut up because this is all about everybody else. Okay. There's J King up in here. I honestly think having the show set on High Republic is fine. Yeah, limited by the way and will of 100 years later, but still have potential so far. Some cool stuff. Otherwise, meh in his perspective. Hey, Daryl came back. All right. Where is this? All right. Many Android fans are pretentious and hateful. They constantly call themselves smart. Everyone else dumb for loving and supporting that show. I'm avoiding all Andor content for my mental health. Thank you, Daryl. I don't have to agree with you, but I appreciate you actually being honest and candid about it, because what I hate is people saying, "Oh, I dislike this," or "I don't. It's not my cup of tea," but they're not able to kind of establish or communicate. This is why we're having this forum. All right. So between Beekeeper and Aquaman, Daryl, which one is you want? I can send the digital copy for you right now. So please let me know in the comment section below. And for you guys, I'm going to put a code for Oppenheimer in the chat. So the first person gets it, it's gonna happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that ready and tool it up. Bizzy, keep the fire going real quick.
All right.
Keep the fire. You want to give me?
So-
let me give you the matches.
So shit, I don't even know. I don't have. I think Ronin should be doing this because he has like a lot of positive things to say. But realistically,
Okay, I'll say that just because I'll say this.
Yeah.
I'll say this
No,
just because
go ahead, Miguel.
because I'm liking the show. I'm having fun with it. I'm not bored by it. I can also understand people be like, you know what, it's a little predictable. The mystery went out. Something shady went down. We know that. And to the extent, like, I agree with that. Extended doesn't take away that I'm still wanting to see more scenes between Saul and Osha, or between Jackie and Osha, and see how that plays out. Like I'm and how when we spend time with the Jedi, what they're talking about and how their vibe is coming off. So I like that. And you know, again, I understand it. It's not your cup of tea, not your cup of tea. But this is also from the same person that was heartbroken that the Book of Boba Fett wasn't a full Mafia show. Like they teased it. Book of Boba Fett.
I have another name for that show, but I won't say it because we'll get demonetized.
Um,
Miguel knows it.
but I also understand people's mixed bag with what's canon, not canon, because, and again, this is someone I don't lose sleep over this shit. Is that at one point Lucasfilm said, from here on out, once we reestablish a new show, new movies, books, comics, all of that is canon. And when they started to be like, well, this is not how this happened, this is not how that happened, then it's like, okay, a lot of people, and understandably, were like, well, I'm not going to read all the books now because what's the point of it? You just went back on that. And I get it to an extent, y'all, but at the same time, I'm like, just going with what I'm getting and seeing if I care about it. I care about Saul. I care about Jackie. I care about Osha. Yord is very uptight, but I'm very intrigued to see if he starts seeing, wait a minute, not everything is okay going by the books. And if people want to see a great example of like a Jedi trying to represent the best they can and see them fall, I especially recommend y'all go watch the episode of Tales of the Jedi called Justice, where you see Dooku as a Jedi and you see him, wait a minute, something's off with the galaxy. Maybe not everything's the way it should be, and you see the turning. Go see that episode. It's a phenomenal episode of what exploring the Jedi and the galaxy is before Phantom Menace is near the corner. My God, that bedroom eyes filter. Wow. He's Ken enough.
Like, that's terrifying, bro.
Mike's
This is
Ken.
cursed.
What do you mean terrifying? What are you talking about?
Don't do that voice.
Look, you trying to get first it was a daggone shank. Now you sitting there talking about somebody that's gone and left us. Stop, Mike. Stop.
Wait till I've got. I didn't say nothing.
Stop, Mike. Stop. Just stop.
Hey, before we continue further, comic and other cons. I'm pretty sure one day I was walking in New York City and I saw you sitting in your Thor costume just eating dinner.
What?
Shout out to you. Now, yeah, the profile picture looked mad familiar, but
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
snap. That's Archie.
I think I told you about that too, Sam, and you were like, "Oh no, I know that person," and I'm
What's
like,
up,
"What do you mean you know
Arch?
that person?" Because he was looking through my photos.
How you doing,
Like,
bro? Good to see
I was
you,
walking
man.
by, and him and someone else, they were sitting all cosplayed up in the at the dinner table at this restaurant, and I look at them. I tried to wave them down and tried to ask for permission to take a photo because I was just walking by, and they were just sitting there all dripped out.
Hey Arch, I might try to bring you in here, man. I might try to bring you in here.
Archie.
All right. So now I am officially sending out the code.
Hold on, let me get ready first.
You getting the copy? So the official code for Oppenheimer. I am about to put it in the comments, so make sure you're ready. Get your Twitter fingers ready because it's going everywhere. It's going in between TikTok, Facebook, even on Bizzy's thing. So yeah, here we go. 3, 2, 1. This is a small little thank you for you guys, and there's another thing coming up soon. There we go. I'll even put it right here.
All right, I'm ready.
Really busy? Come on, man.
Nah, I'd beat them. I can't do that.
Yeah. So enjoy.
Because of my kindness, I encourage you guys to like the stream, comment, and all that. Because I could have easily just taken that from you guys. So just remember that. All right.
Hit the like button. Subscribe.
Hit the like button. Subscribe.
Yeah, please like, subscribe. If you're on Bizzy TikTok, make sure you're following. Check out Bizzy Brown reactions. Let's get busy. But yeah, nah.
So at Nick and Steph's Steakhouse. Yeah. So that's where it was. Yeah. It was. I think that's where it was. I don't know anything about New York. I was just walking back to my hotel from Comic-Con, and I saw you in there. I don't know if you remember, but I remember like waving you all down because they were like just sitting there. But that was mad funny.
Yeah. Let me see if Art's trying to actually join, man. Art, you trying to join this, man? Let me know, bro.
I got like 57 movies on movies anywhere.
I hope. Listen, when I'm saying, my concerns or thoughts to the show, I'm not against the representation and all that stuff and trying to hate on Star Wars and stuff like that. I told Jay King this. It's like I thought the first 2 episodes were fine.
It's too late. You already canceled, man. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, again, I could be completely wrong, Mike. I could be completely wrong, and I'm not coming for you.
That's why I'm intrigued by next week's episode. I'm like,
I really feel like the basis of a lot of the things that you're saying is, one, lack of information on where the narrative is actually going to go. I do agree that the pacing is could be off-putting if you're not invested in what's going on. To be quite honest, the first 2 episodes, I wasn't even sure if there was twins. I actually thought it was a possibility very quickly that this girl is schizophrenic, which would have been a very interesting narrative if they went that route. But a lot of the things that you're kind of saying as far as the rationale is why the Jedi did what they did, if they did do it, are there things that we really don't know? I think that a lot of that is pushing up on how the narrative and your perspective of the narrative is, in my personal opinion. Like, I don't think you have as many of the puzzle pieces to make it make sense at this point. Because the thing about episode 3, it kind of felt like the foundation episode, but I feel like there's going to be a whole nother episode just from the perspective of the other twin. Because the other twin's going to see a completely different outlook, because her hatred towards Jedi, it comes from a very specific place. Imagine, and again, we haven't seen the next episode, if she is actually hiding behind something, watching as these Jedi are legit killing her family. Like that changes your perspective and scope of how this is even looked. Because you got one sister that looked at them like they're the angels, and the other one's like, you're trying to push your religion on me, and you threw away my inheritance. Because she was the only one that actually got the mark, the other sister didn't. So in my opinion, man, I think a part of this is, it's just not enough of the puzzle pieces. And I think some people are not going to give this a chance anyway. Some people are being really hateful and mean-spirited. But I don't know. I think at this point, like, the things that I'm concerned about is acting, process, delivery, execution. Like, a lot of the transition and stuff, the way they actually doing this is very old school Star Wars, but it's also got a lot of new stuff to it too. So I'm really intrigued by the show. I actually personally like the show. I think it's actually pretty nuts, but I am curious. But yeah, Arch, if you get this message, please let me know. I would love for you to join in, man.
Nah, he said it to bed.
No, he said it. Arch, if you guys have never witnessed him, he's like a older version of Lucas. No lie. Like he goes.
No way.
He is an older version of Lucas.
I
And
gotta see. I gotta
he
believe.
is unapologetic in his response. There's a moment. There's actually a video somewhere where him and Lucas are there at the same time, and I think Arch was like, "Oh, this guy's cool. I like him." So I wish Arch could join in for a second and give his perspective on Acolyte. But you guys, it's like 51 of you guys still here. We've been on for an hour and 26 minutes. We haven't done a live stream in God knows how long. I think we haven't done one since The Last of Us, honestly, right, Ronin?
That feels about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and also happy anniversary to part 2.
Oh, dang.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to go to bed now.
That's a whole other thing. Talk about trigger fingers. God.
Tea time.
Yeah, I am going to be giving one more code out. This is for American Sniper. The only thing about this one is everybody that's in here, all 51 of you guys, if you want or have an opportunity to get this code, you have to let us know your thoughts on Acolyte. Whether you like it, whether you think it's meh, whether you think it's good or great. You have to leave a comment now. And as soon as pretty much I see the majority of people, I'll give a timetable. I'll give it till 10:25. At 10:25, I'm going to be putting the code up. If you have not put your comment up, I'm not going to pick you. So you got to put a comment up, and then I'll pick somebody to get the code for that one. We need to have another Q&A of all these DC updates and Superman photos. You're on mute, Ronin.
Wait till Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, y'all gonna be spazzing in Hall H, and I'm gonna be sitting here like,
who knows what the hell they're gonna bring up if they do bring up anything.
Yeah, one thing I did want to ask you guys: do you guys feel like Acolyte deserves to be canceled before it even came out?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying it did.
No.
I'm not saying
Absolutely
it did.
not.
But there were people leaving so many dislikes and so many different slurs and stuff like that I think that there was a very early rumor that it was being canceled up front. And since it's come out, like people have called us certain names and stuff for even saying that we enjoyed certain episodes. So it kind of defeats. If we weren't critics and we were just normal people, it would be kind of like, man, I'm being gaslighted. I ain't even gonna talk about the show. Even if I like it, I'm not even gonna talk about it. So it's kind of like, do you guys think it's a good thing, or do you think it's kind of like bullying a show to be canceled? Do you think that's right?
It's a drug.
Because I think that's what's actually happening.
At points, all this behavior, it feels like a drug. It feels like that's the it thing to do now. No, I don't think it deserves to be canceled. I can also say this: as much as I'm doing it right now, the ending might blow it, if you will. You know, we've seen shows that I'm like, ooh, I wasn't excited for this show, but I'm intrigued by it, and then by the ending, what the hell was that? So I'm confident with what I'm seeing now that they can land it. I hope they don't extend this mystery for another season or so, because then it feels like, okay, now you're really trying to like. Yeah, and I'm like, no, you got 8 episodes, tell the story. You got me intrigued. You have me carrying characters already that I had never known beforehand. I'm like, finish it up, see what you can do. And then if you resolve it gratefully, I don't mind spending time in this era again. I'd happily come back to it if they stick the landing.
You have to say, because also there's another thing, and I know you guys talked about this before I got on, is that the actual showrunner and some of the comments that she made prior to this show is also, I think, is pouring gasoline on the fire, or not gasoline on the fire, the match, the spark that kind of started everything. Because again, of comments she was talking about with George Lucas, especially, her ideology on politics and everything, those things definitely added to the fan base reaction to it, even when it comes to like false articles saying that it was canceled. Those things were consistently the running narrative Even when it came to other properties, like you're talking about of canceling shows, like people thought, oh, Snow White was canceled. Oh, it's fired. Rachel Zegler's fired. No, it's not. Nothing happened. Y'all just didn't like what she said. I think in D23. That's it. That is literally it. And yeah, and so it just, you understand it's how far fandom will go is literally insane. And again, I don't blame anybody for not we want to do Star Wars property after this. I mean, I really don't. So it's unfortunate and everything, but I'm not gonna ask for people to saying that, oh yeah, you should be blasted on Instagram, on Twitter, all this stuff, have 80 thumbnails of your face on videos talking about anti-woke and women and all this stuff like that. No. If it's bad, it's bad because it was just bad story, was poorly executed. Point blank, period. But no, we don't do that.
Yeah, to answer your question, was that Jay King that did that? No, it was Kenya. I hadn't thought about it, to be quite honest with you. I think it's still, no matter what, it's going to be this stigma of people either going to hate it or love it because it's not in the hands of George Lucas. Some people prefer it not to be in George Lucas' hand altogether. But I think, unfortunately, no matter where it goes, I think it's going to deal with that. Now, hypothetically speaking, and hopefully Disney does not snipe me for this. Be careful of my words. If something happens to Disney, or if something happens to Star Wars as a franchise, and say hypothetically speaking, Apple ends up with Star Wars. We've seen their approach to certain specific shows on the science fiction level, like what they were able to do with Monarch, what they're able to do with Silo, what they're able to do with Invasion, what they're able to do with C, For All Mankind. I think I would love to see a take from something like Apple foundationally, because not only from a money standpoint, but I think that they have the willingness to kind of go and take things a different route. I think it'd be really interesting if Apple / Star Wars work together on a specific narrative. I would love to see it. But I don't know. They're the only people in my head that I could ever think maybe taking it to an intimate direction. That's just my personal opinion, Kenya. I don't know if anybody else has a comment on it though.
Not thinking about that right now.
Everybody's not going down that road.
No, not even going down the road. It's just I'm like it. I think that the vibe would follow suit wherever the studio would go if it parted ways from Disney. But that'd be a big whole legal thing because of the stuff that's been created since the acquisition. So it's unless I'm getting paid for it, I'm not looking into that.
I don't know. Everybody's quiet on that one, so I'm gonna say, why you had to start stuff, Kenya? We were trying to keep it.
Now Disney already shot me, so.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to talk about it. Anywho, yeah, guys, there's nobody putting any comments. I can't put the code up. I don't want to put the code up and then nobody get it.
Nobody was a fan of American Sniper. I'm just kidding.
You know what? That might actually be it. Like,
I'll take one for the team and take the code.
If I put let me see. And I got this. Anybody interested in this?
Ooh. Taraji P. Henson's the GOAT.
Let me see. Maybe this. That's the whole trilogy. Anyway, y'all let me know.
He's just flexing at this.
No, I'm trying to see if people want it. I'm trying to give out codes, but nobody wants any codes. But I'm about to put this code up, regardless of anybody put anything. Anything that we should probably kind of allow people to be able to talk about. I think at this point now, everybody just kind of listening to us, which is not what I wanted to do. But anything else we probably should try to cover with this show? Any kind of high-level risk that you guys are thinking about, or any kind of positive you want to talk about the show, or any of the Star Wars in general? Because for me, like, I'm new to a lot of this. When we watched Star Wars Empire, what was it? What's the name of it?
Tales of the Empire.
Tales of the Empire, and then Tales of the Jedi, and then Visions. Like, all of these animated has been so intriguing to me. I've really had a lot of fun with them. So watching some of these other ones, you guys like Andor or even Obi-Wan or even Ahsoka, like I've actually just had a blast just diving into different stories. Like, I will say that there's a level of excellence and execution that is very important and imperative when you're making and crafting something. You don't just settle for anything. But there are certain things that kind of come off as nitpicking and just perspective that I don't think is necessary with something like this. But I've really enjoyed some of the things that have come out, to be quite honest. So I don't really have a stake in. That's why I've kind of kept my mouth shut a little bit. But is anything you guys want to talk about Acolyte, positive or negative, before we kind of conclude things up?
I like it. I'm having fun with it. I'm not bored. Go check out our
I'm
reactions.
still gonna keep going. I want to wait till the series is done before I complain.
If y'all want to see how we're vibing with it, go check out the reactions on my channel, and check out the reviews on Team GVS. See how we feel afterwards. I'm having a blast, and not just having a blast watching it, but also with these guys around as well.
Yeah, you'll see. Me and Jay King will break this down and stuff. I'm still watching this show. I'm not giving up on it because I still love Star Wars. I think it's also I think that's the big thing is that even when it comes to Marvel, I think because I was having this same conversation about my passion for Marvel, I think a couple years ago, and Sam was there during Thor: Love and Thunder, and I was like, oh man, but I don't know what's going on with these movies that I love, man. It's like, yeah, I'm not the target audience anymore. That's okay. But yeah, you guys can check our reviews at my channel, Jedi Mike 7. And also can be unbiased as well. I would say that because you also have different perspective, and I think me and Jay King come from a very respectful approach where we just go back and forth, and it's all all just passion and everything. But I think it's also again not having an echo chamber, thinking that we all think the same. We don't. But again, there is a narrative of people that is not about whether you don't like or dislike the shows, how you're going your way about it as someone reviewing this content. And again, I think that's the basis thing where I think this conversation against the root is that how we are receiving content, how we're able to process it, feel like how we feel about it, review it, give our comments on it, but to the point when it goes so overboard to now that it now becomes a adrenaline for people to seek power to destroy something. I think that's the biggest thing where on a consistent level, a lot of fan base currently right now, like we are so trying to take down the corporation, like, oh, see how high they got. Let's bring them back down. Let's bring them down. And that makes me feel good about myself. Even though I'm hiding behind my icon on YouTube and you can't see my face, but you can see my posts and stuff like that, right? You can ban me. I'll just make another channel. It's like that's what people do because it's that drive of toxicity and everything. I know, and I can say that nobody on this panel is part of that or subscribes to that. So, but yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to all of our platforms.
I'm gonna be careful how I ask this question before I put this Darn American Sniper code in. We haven't talked about it, and I'm gonna preface it very carefully. Do you guys, and this is for the audience and anybody that's on this panel, do you guys feel like there are any kind of not just hate because of fanboy hate, but any kind of discriminatory implications to people's problems with Star Wars in the few years? And I ask that only because there have been times where I've looked and I'm like, why are we, if we'll take Obi-Wan for instance. If in Obi-Wan is like doing, and this is like, oh, this is dragging, where we're going with the story, we already know where this ends up. But the basis of everybody's issue is this actress named Moses and this Inquisitor that nobody's ever seen before. But everybody's giving her all the direct attention and issue. Like, why did this happen? Right? And And I mean, there are other different situations that happen over the years of Star Wars, but I'm just curious as to anybody that's on the chat or anybody that's in this panel, like, do you guys think that there's any implications of possible discrimination that's happening in general? And I'm not just talking a white black thing. I'm talking just in general, because that could go to women, that could go to people of color, that could go to, you know, like changing up how a character is and it is switching to something else. And so you just have a problem with it and being really mean spirited about it. So discrimination is not just basically, you know, discriminating against certain peoples, but it could be very specific. So I don't know. I want to have this be an open forum. So we've been talking for an hour and 30 minutes. So I want to ask that question, but I'm asking it very carefully because I'm not implying, I'm just asking. So,
yes,
I sense it.
Absolutely.
I sense a disturbance in the force.
Yes. No, you absolutely. Because listen, not only is that apparent, it's been consistently spread, not only in terms of fan base, but in the industry. Right. Because again, I think that's the first thing that people say. We're not racist, we're not sexist, not, you know, whatever, XYZ, whatever. But I am telling you, as someone for me, who I might have general criticisms of the show, whatever, have nothing to do with the representation of any of these characters whatsoever. But do not think I'm blinded by certain people that are going to hide behind my comments, who also don't want to see people like me on screen, but going to hide the fact that I might not be liking this show as much as to say, well, see, it's not, you know, it's not racist that we don't like, because he don't like the show either. No. And I'm telling you, people will fall for that because thinking like, oh, see, I can't be against this female audience and this female cast because my female friend didn't like this show. So see, you can't say I don't like women in Star Wars because my friend who don't like Star Wars, she didn't like it either. No. And that's why I talked about this yesterday on another stream when Miguel was there. Again, it's the psychology of both these sides of people who want to go after, hey, let's make this film and this show about diversity, or hey, show representation, or the message, whatever. Let's do it because we want to tell this story. Great, right? And then you have the other side who's the anti-woke. Let's call it what it is, right? And I said both of these people are two sides of the same coin, and also are part of the problem, because yes, we like to see people like us on screen, but at the same time, when you think that all you can sell us is just our race and our gender, our sexuality, whatever, that's cheap. And there is content like that in the industry that do that, right? Right. There is content in the industry that does that, but at the same time, because of that mediocrity and consistency of content, again, I said this, the audience is now trained. Well, anytime you see a minority, a woman, a minority group with XYZ, you automatically think mediocrity. And that's the problem. Is that you now, because I've now created a narrative and confirmation bias in my head that anytime I see a minority in this, I'm going to get mediocrity and not give anything the benefit of the doubt. Even when I see something, oh, it looks good, but it's just going to be some other, SJW, woke stuff. It's the same thing. So, and for me, I think for all of us here, we're just taking this content for what it is. I think that also for the amount of movies and shows we watch on a consistent basis, is that we also have to understand that we see a pattern of just storytelling. We see a pattern of writing of characters and their arcs and stuff. So when the point when we cannot have our confirmation bias ruin our perspective of receiving just a show or a movie for what it is, that's how you be authentic as much as you can being a reviewer, because we have to be objective by also giving our subjective opinion.
Yeah,
and I know,
it's hard because we are critics and we should work at the level of ethics and morals and be completely unbiased in our perspective, because we have to give an honest opinion, right? We can't go with the inclination because, well, this isn't this. If we start doing that, then we're not giving people like a clear response. And so when you talk about outside people, normal people, like, I think unfortunately it if that is the case, if that does happen, people start losing interest because they're going to feel like, one, no matter what, it's a lose-lose situation. If I do like the fact that I like this character that's never come up before and everybody's gaslighting me about it, if you hypothetically are like, well, I don't know about this character, but shoot, like, they're doing it, it can go either way far south, unfortunately. But I think the reason why I asked the question is because I don't think that there's any room for hatred, like, in entertainment like this. Like, this, the whole point of it is for entertainment base. Like, these actors they're not coming and doing these roles to get trashed. We just talked about The Last of Us. There's a specific character on The Last of Us season 2. This actress, I'm praying for her ahead of time because she's going to be met with hate and bigotry off of a narrative of a freaking video game being transitioned to adaptation of a show. And that's wrong. But she's going to have to be the person to go through that. And I fear for her. And I actually, there are people that have never played the game that's never seen the show is going to be watching this, and I don't even know what this is going to look like realistically. You know what I'm saying? But it's not right, and that's the reason why I want to ask the question. Bizzy and Ronin, if you guys have any sentiments on it, I just wanted to bring it up before we close out.
It's something I don't welcome that vibe. It's noticeable, which is why I sometimes reach out to friends who do this stuff as well, that are more open, welcoming, and yet are not afraid to have constructive criticism about stuff. I've had them on the podcast. I've interacted with them before in other forums, and yeah, I mean, I look back at it now, and I'm like, thank God I didn't have access to the internet when the prequels were coming out. Like, I'm thankful I didn't have to grow up with that, and it wasn't until I was in high school that, oh wow, people actually hated these films at one point, and then 15 years later, they're the sacred text, if you will, for a generation. I've seen clips of the first 3 episodes of the season that tackle that very same convo there. Yeah, it's there. It's heartbreaking that it's a part of it, and I think that's why I salute a lot of folks who fight the good fight, if you will. And again, like I think Mike has said, that there's both sides of this thing. Sometimes I'm like, is this really worth fighting about and arguing about? And sometimes I'm like, this is a good convo to have. And then you see how the convo lasts more than just a few moments, and you see it go off the deep end, and it's like, okay, no, it's not a convo anymore. It's just excuse my language. It's just a dick measuring contest at this point. Yeah, sadly, it does occur. I hope we get better at that. Maybe it's the arrogant, hopeful person in me. I don't know, but I do this when I see a lot of these people that just go off the deep end. I'm like, go back into these films and trying to learn from these things, because as much as we love this stuff, I don't feel that much ownership of it. If that's the case, if I do, then I'm not learning from Anakin's mistakes. I'm not learning from the Jedi's mistakes. And I don't know. That's my takeaway from it.
Bizzy?
I don't know, man. I don't know what to say.
All right. Well, Marcus, now a lot of people in the critics' reaction. Yeah, that's why I kind of was like, we've been doing this for an hour and 50 minutes. I'm not gonna just avoid the reality of what's happening. if it's happening, then we should talk about it. Like, I think not talking about it is worse than just, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like we should have open discussion about everything. If this is actually happening, we should figure out why is the perspective this way? Why is it happening? And, you know, there should be an intolerance of it, in my opinion. But yeah, I think this is good. I think this is a good conversation. I'm gonna go ahead and blast this during thing out here. Here we go. So everybody has an ability of being able to get American Sniper HD 4K version. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Dang, Kenya, why you say that? Bizzy, you good?
I'm good, bro.
He said his piece. He's like, I think, you know, not trying to like jump on his words and whatnot, but I'm like, it's a good way. Sometimes when you feel about something, like, this is how I feel. If you want to know how I feel about a show or a movie or whatnot, there's this one video I make. Go look at it and whatnot. And
Go check out the OnlyFans, yeah.
Wait, what? OnlyFans?
Never mind.
I'm all right. We're gonna kind of jump ship from there. I think this is good. Hopefully you guys all got something out of this. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. If you can, make sure you leave a comment in the chat with the thumbs up, thumbs down, middle roll, whatever you guys think. If you guys want us to do something like this on a QA standpoint for another show, hypothetically speaking, or another movie or something like that, please let us know in the comment section below. Let's see. Yep, as a veteran who fought the freedom of speech amongst all the rights and gents, the first word country, never be afraid to stand up for your rights.
Oh, so you're gonna download the American Sniper video. Go for it, man.
Check your lightsabers. Make sure it still work. Yo, my lightsaber is dead. I knew that started, bro. Why is there a child on the screen right now? Anywho, we're gonna go and close up shop. Since there's a child on the screen, I'm gonna let him go first to plug his channel. Mike, where can everybody find your content?
Not you call me a child. But yeah, you can find me on Jedi Mike 7 on YouTube and on Instagram and all that stuff. I got reviews for Tribeca coming later this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And also got Boys review coming, and well as House of Dragons and stuff like that. But yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and everything. You also find me here. So yeah.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Mike. Bizzy, where can everybody find your content, man?
Bizzy Broad everywhere. Bizzy Reactions on Instagram and over here doing reviews.
Thank you, Bizzy. Last but not least, Ronin.
Find me at Ronin Unchained on YouTube, on the socials. Got a lot of stuff coming out soon in the next few months, and hang tight for July. There's a lot of iron in the fire.
Fire.
The fire rises.
Yeah.
All right. So, what the heck?
What?
Bro, why is there a little kid up here, man? All right, we're gonna go, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you're following all these amazing people's content. Make sure you're following all of our social media platforms that are checking this out now. And if you guys want us to do this again, please let us know. Thank you, Kenya, for your perspective. I'm glad you liked the Q&A. Wait, what? You know what? I'm not gonna post that one up for Marcus. We're gonna go.
Wow.
We're gonna go.
Wow.
Bye, everybody.
I don't care.